Good morning, everyone. Today we will see a new topic, that is alcoholic liver disease. So only by the name you can understand that alcohol consumption, it is one of the major cause or reason for the development of this kind of liver disease. The chronic and excessive alcohol ingestion, it is one of the major causes of liver disease. Liver diseases, which may include hepatitis or cirrhosis or fatty liver. So these kind of liver diseases, they are mostly because of chronic and excessive alcohol ingestion. There are no diagnostic tools that can predict the individual susceptibility to alcoholic liver disease. So by this line, you can understand that patient alcoholic, uh, who is alcoholic, so we cannot predict the susceptibility that he will develop the alcoholic liver disease, or he may not develop alcoholic liver disease. Or even if patient has susceptibility to develop alcoholic liver disease, but we cannot say that how much time it will take to develop this kind of alcoholic liver disease. Although alcohol, it is considered a direct hepatotoxin, only 10% to 20% of alcoholics will develop alcoholic hepatitis. So among alcoholics, that those who are chronic drinker of alcohol, uh, the chances of developing alcoholic liver disease, or you can say only alcoholic hepatitis, it is only 10% to 20%. So as we all know, that alcohol, it is an hepatotoxic, but still the chances of developing hepatitis due to this alcohol consumption, it is only 10% 20%. The explanation for this apparent paradox. So why apparent paradox? Because we believe, or many people believe, that alcohol, it is an hepatotoxic and it will directly affect or damage the liver. But when we go to the statistics or facts, what we get, that only 10% or 20% of patients, they develop alcoholic hepatitis. So this is an apparent paradox. So the reason or explanation behind this apparent paradox, it is still unclear, but it involves many complex interaction of facilitating factors such as drinking pattern, the diet of the patient, obesity, and gender. So we will discuss all these factors one by one on the next slides. The pathology of alcoholic liver disease, it consists of three major lesions with progressive injury, which are rarely existing in a pure form. So that means you will not get any separate entity, and that means patient will have only fatty liver, or patient will have only alcoholic hepatitis, or patient will have only cirrhosis. So the patient, it may have mixed picture. So along with alcoholic hepatitis, patient may also have fatty liver. So this kind of finding you will get in a patient with alcoholic liver disease. So there is no pure form, and the pathological changes or the pathology of alcoholic liver disease, it consists of three major lesions. So in that, one is fatty liver. So what is mean by fatty liver? You can understand by the name. So simply it means the accumulation of fat in the hepatocyte. So it is quite normal to develop or build up the fat in liver, but when its amount, it increases, if it increases more than 5%, then it is called as abnormal fatty liver. So this fatty liver, it is present in more than 90% of daily as well as binge drinker. So fatty liver, it is present, or which is the most common finding, which is present in more than 90% of the patients, or you can say individuals who are daily drinkers, or the individuals who are binge drinkers. So what is mean by binge drinking? I think I have told in previous lectures also, but again we will see on the next slide. So you will get uh, fatty liver in more than 90% of patients with in this individual. And then next one is alcoholic hepatitis. So small percentage of heavy drinkers will progress to the alcoholic hepatitis, and it is thought to be a precursor to the cirrhosis. So that means more than 90% individual they will develop fatty liver, and only small percentage, that is it means it may be 5%, 5% to 8% of patient they will develop alcoholic hepatitis after heavy drinking. So that means patient who are heavy drinkers, so that patient they will develop alcoholic hepatitis, and it is thought to be a precursor to the cirrhosis. So what is mean by heavy drinking, that also we will see on the next slide. So then you will understand uh, which individual they will get alcoholic hepatitis. Then third one is cirrhosis. The prognosis of severe alcoholic liver disease is dismissal, and the mortality of the patients with alcoholic hepatitis concurrent with cirrhosis, it is nearly 60% at 4 years. So the most, or you can say the last legend or the dangerous legend in this alcoholic liver disease, it is cirrhosis, and if it is concurrent with alcoholic hepatitis, then the mortality it is nearly 60% at 4 years. So means once uh, previously patient has alcoholic hepatitis, obviously which is a precursor to the cirrhosis. So after a few years, if patient develops cirrhosis, so this is a concurrent condition in which patient has cirrhosis as well as alcoholic hepatitis. So the mortality in such patients is nearly 60% at 4 years. Now we will see the prevalence and the risk factors for this alcoholic liver disease. There is high prevalence of alcoholic liver disease in India, and about 50% of cases of cirrhosis in India may be due to alcohol abuse. So the most of cases of cirrhosis, liver cirrhosis, nearly 50% they belong to the alcohol abuse. The quantity and duration of alcohol intake are the most important risk factors for the development of alcoholic liver disease. So what quantity patient is taking and from how much time, or you can say the duration of alcohol intake, it is also one of the major risk factor for the development of alcoholic liver disease. The different alcoholic beverages they contain varying quantity of alcohol, and the quantity it is expressed as units. So 1 unit is equal to the 10 gram of alcohol. So you should remember this measurement. So 1 unit is equal to 10 gram of alcohol, because that will I will explain on the next slide. So we all know that in market there are different alcoholic beverages. They are available and they have different quantities of alcohol. So for example, in wine you will get different alcohol percentage. In beer you will get different percentage. So I have shown the slide which will explain the percentage of alcohol in these various beverages. uh, so in this slide you can see that beer it will contain our beer has 5% of alcohol, wine has 12% of alcohol, and hard liquor consists which includes whiskey or rum. So they has or they consist of 40% of alcohol. So this 5% of alcohol, it nearly means 13.85 gram. 12% of alcohol in that wine, it means it consists of 10 gram or 10.7 gram of alcohol. So, and in this column, I have explained the serving size. That means the quantity. So nearly 350 ml of beer, it will consist 5% of alcohol. 120 ml of wine, it consists of 12% of alcohol, and 30 ml size, because most of the individuals they drink or they take hard drinks like rum or whiskey in a peg of 30 ml. So this 30 ml of hard drink, it consists of nearly 10 gram of alcohol. A high daily intake of alcohol, that is more than 60 gram in males and 20 gram in females, which is taken for more than 6 to 8 years, significantly increases the risk of alcoholic liver disease. So focus on this slide that it increases the risk of alcoholic liver disease. So by this line you can understand that drinking for nearly more than 6 to 8 years, it will not, or it is not mandatory that patient will develop alcoholic liver disease, but this type of drinking pattern, it will increase the risk of alcoholic liver disease. The Indians develop cirrhosis with smaller quantities and duration of alcohol intake. So when we compare our Indian population with Western population, the Indian people, they will develop cirrhosis with smaller quantity and less duration of alcohol intake. So for example, if the individual in Western population and in Western countries, he developed cirrhosis in 10 years, so in India an individual, he can develop cirrhosis in within 8 years. So you will find such type of difference in Indian population and Western population. The other risk factors, they also influence the development of alcoholic liver disease in different individuals given the same dose or the duration of alcohol intake. WHO estimates that about 2 billion people worldwide, they consume alcoholic beverages, and 76.30 million, they have diagnosable alcohol use disorder. So that means nearly 2 billion people in the world, they consume alcohol beverages. So this is an old data. So till now or today it may have increased, but out of this 76.3 million, they have diagnosable alcohol use disorder. So that may include hepatitis, that may include cirrhosis or fatty liver or any other disease. So such type of patients, they are nearly 76.30 million. Unfortunately, India also has witnessed a steadily increasing consumption of alcohol in the last 2 decades, which is attributable to the socio-economic and demographic changes in population. So that means in India, in the last 2 decades, the frequency of alcohol consumption, it has been increased, which may be attributable to the socio-economic status. So that means nowadays patient are many persons or individuals, they have a good life, they have money, so they spend their money in this type of drinking. And also uh, trades had been increased between the countries, and for this purpose many peoples from the Western or European countries, they come to India for their work. So the natural habit of these individuals, that is Western people or European people, uh, it is quite normal for them to drink alcohol. So as like we drink tea and daily in the morning, these people, they have a habit of drinking alcohol. So the Indian people who are working with them, they also have started drinking alcohol as a routine with this people. So such type of factors, or you can say habit, it is responsible, or you can say it has contributed to the increasing consumption of alcohol in our India. So I have given just an example, uh, but there are so many examples, or you can say the factors which is responsible for the increasing consumption of alcohol. So among that, one is curiosity, that what will happen after drinking alcohol. So this type of curiosity, it has also increased the consumption of alcohol. Then again, various factors like anxiety or depression, so these type of factors, they are also responsible for increasing consumption of alcohol. The per capita consumption of alcohol in India, it has risen 4 liters per year, though although it is still less than in US, so which is nearly 16.2 liters per year. So the per capita consumption of alcohol in US, it is nearly 16 liters per year, but in India it is only 4 liters per year. So although you should notice that it has been risen, so that means in previous years it was less than 4 liter per year, but now it has been increased more than 4 liters. So by this line you can understand how much frequency, or you can say the tendency of alcohol consumption has been increased in our India. The National Family Health Survey in 2007, it has reported that 30% of adult Indians, they have been consuming alcohol, and out of which 4% to the 30% are daily users. So among 100 people, or you can say out of 100 people, nearly 30% they have been consuming alcohol. So nowadays, I think this data may have been changed. That means more than 30% of Indian individuals, they have been drinking now, and out of which nearly 4% to 30% they are daily users. However, there is no clear linear shift between dose and liver damage. So even though we are talking about the dose of the liver, or you can say the duration of alcohol consumption, but still there is no clear linear relationship between this dose and liver damage. Now we will see the risk factors. So the recent trends in alcohol consumption in India, it includes emergence of wine and beer drinking. So many people think that drinking of whiskey or rum, it is alcohol consumption, and drinking of wine and beer, they do not consider it as a alcohol consumption. So many individuals, they drink wine considering it as a healthy, or many people drink beer considering that it will not harm any individual or our body. So the most of the people, they prefer the wine and beer over hard liquors. Also drinking among women, it has also been increased. So nowadays many women, they have started drinking. This may be because of some corporate life, or it may be because of some you can say social media effects. So however it has been increased. Then decreasing age of initiation. So previously the individuals who are more than, I think, 30 years, or you can say more than 25 years of individual, they were drinking, but nowadays this age, it has been decreased. So you can nowadays you can see the uh, young children who are even at 15 years of age, they have started drinking. So this is also responsible for increasing alcohol consumption in India. Then shift from urban to the rural areas. So previously, the person who was working in corporate world, or you can say the big company, they were mostly drinkers. But nowadays, in rural areas also, they have started drinking. More binge drinking, that means patient will drink alcohol for day and night, with or without eating, and later on he will take a gap of 2 or 3 days, and later on again he will start drinking for a day and night. So such type of pattern has been increased nowadays. So the patient will say, I have not drinking for, you can say, since 1 month, and he will drink for nearly 1 or 2 days continuously, and after 1 or 2 days he will take a gap of again 1 month, or you can say, if he has become habitual, he will take a gap of 10 days or 15 days. So this gap, it will vary, but after this gap patient will again start drinking for again continuously 1 or 2 days or even more. So such type of binge drinking, it has also been increased. And social acceptability. So greater social acceptability means many individuals consider that drinking wine or beer, it is quite normal, and they do not consider it which is something uncommon, or you can say something bad. So social acceptability, it has been increased among Indian population. So that is this is also one of the major risks or you can say the trend, because of which alcohol consumption in India it has been increased. So we will first see drinking pattern. So before this, you should understand that alcoholic liver disease and alcoholic or alcohol dependence, they are not synonymous, because many of those who develop alcoholic liver disease are not alcohol dependent, and most individuals who are alcohol dependent, they have normal liver function. So you should remember this line, that patient who has developed alcoholic liver disease, so it is not necessary that patient is alcohol dependent. And again, from the second perspective, an individual who is alcohol dependence, it is not necessary that patient will have alcoholic liver disease. Uh, the liver disease, it is more likely to occur in continuous rather than intermittent or binge drinkers, as this pattern gives the liver chance to recover. So by this line you can understand that alcoholic liver disease, it will develop in individuals who are continuous drinkers. That means he's drinking daily for nearly more than 5 years or 6 years. He's taking alcohol daily. So such individuals, they are at risk of developing liver damage. But the individuals who are intermittent drinkers, that means patient who drinks uh, at a gap of 10 days or 15 days or even 1 month or even more. So that is an intermittent drinking or binge drinker. So what is mean by binge drinking? I have just explained. So such individuals, they will not, or they have less chance of developing liver disease. Why? Because such preg, they will give, or such preg, it will give liver to recover. So that means patient has drunk today and he is taking a gap of 10 days. So between these 10 days, liver has a chance to recover from itself, uh, from bad effects of this alcohol. So because of this chance or this pattern, the development of liver damage, it is less likely to developing intermittent or binge drinker. So it is therefore recommended that the people should have at least 2 alcohol-free days each week. So that means patient who desire to take alcohol, they should have at least 2 alcohol-free days each week. That means patient has drunk today, so he should take a gap of 2 days, and after 2 days he may drink. So such gap or alcohol-free days are necessary. In men, 40 to 80 gram of alcohol, ethanol, it produces fatty liver. Nearly 160 gram or 10 to 20 years causes hepatitis or cirrhosis. So by this line or example, you can understand, to develop fatty liver, nearly 40 to 80 gram per day of alcohol or ethanol, it is necessary to develop fatty liver, and nearly 160 gram per day is necessary to develop 10 to 20 years. It needs 20 to 20 years to develop hepatitis or cirrhosis. The only 50% of alcoholics, they will develop alcoholic liver disease. So that we have already seen that chances of alcoholic liver disease is only 10% to 20% who are drinkers. The type of beverage does not affect the risk. So this line you should remember, that type of beverage, it does not affect the risk, whether you take beer or wine or hard liquor, it doesn't matter. So what matters? It is only the quantity. In general, the time it takes to develop liver disease is directly related to the amount of alcohol consumed. So by previous slide, you would understand it is useful in estimating the alcohol consumption to understand that one beer 4 ounces of wine or 1 ounce of 80% spirit all contain approximately 12 gram of alcohol. So the patient would take beer, 1 beer or 4 ounces of wine or only 1 ounce of 80% spirit. They contain nearly 12 gram of alcohol. The next one is gender. The incidence of alcoholic liver disease, it is increasing in women who have higher blood ethanol levels than men after consuming the same amount of alcohol at amounts nearly more than 20 grams per day. So that means the amount, if suppose we take that 20 gram per day amount of alcohol is taken up by a male and also a female. So even at this same quantity, for example 20 gram per day, the women's, they are at more risk of developing alcoholic liver disease as compared to the men. The threshold for developing alcoholic liver disease is higher in men, while women are at increased risk for developing similar degrees of liver injury by consuming significantly less. So that means even 20 gram of alcohol per day, it is quite sufficient to develop alcoholic liver disease in women, whereas men are, they are less likely to develop alcoholic liver disease at this amount. So this difference, uh, this difference is there, but why it is there, it is poorly understood. But it may be the effects of estrogen or the proportion of body fat and gastric metabolism of alcohol. So there are or many scientists or researchers, they just have proposed these factors, like it may be because of effects of estrogen, it may be because of proportion of body fat, or it may be because of gastric metabolism of alcohol, but however they are still poorly understood. The next one or next factor is genetics. The alcoholism, it is more concordant with monozygotic than dizygotic twins, while polymorphisms in the genes involved in alcoholic metabolism, such as aldehyde dehydrogenase, may alter the drinking behavior, and they have not been linked to the alcoholic liver disease. So, what is aldehyde dehydrogenase? We will come to know on the next slide when we will discuss uh, alcohol metabolism. And then again, a patatin-like phospholipase domain containing 3 gene, which is also known as adiponutrin, it has been implicated in the pathogenesis of alcoholic liver disease and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So, by the name, that is adiponutrin, you can understand it is related with adipocytes. So, this gene or this PNPLA3 gene, it is responsible for an enzyme adiponutrin. So this adiponutrin, it is responsible for hydrolysis of adipocytes. So this adiponutrin, it has also been implicated in the pathogenesis of alcoholic liver disease and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The next factor is nutrition. The obesity increases the incidence of liver-related mortality by over 5-fold in heavy drinkers. The ethanol itself produces the 7 calorie per gram, and many alcoholic drinks, they also contain sugar, so which further increases the calorific value and may contribute to the weight gain. So the patients who are obese, and if they are drinkers or heavy drinkers, so the chances of liver related mortality, it increases by 5-fold when we compare to the non-obese individuals. The excess alcohol consumption, it is frequently associated with nutritional deficiencies that contribute to the morbidity. So that means the patient or individuals who are taking alcohol, they will frequently suffer with some nutritional deficiency, and obviously it will lead to the any kind of or some kind of morbidity. Alcohol injury does not require malnutrition, but the obesity and non-alcoholic fatty liver are risk factors. So this line explains that even though patient is very thin, so it is not necessary that this type of malnutrition it is necessary for liver injury. So simply it means if a patient who is thin, he will develop alcohol injury on the liver, but if the patient is obese, so such individuals they have chances of developing alcohol injury. That means in such patient the injury or damage to the liver it is more frequent when we compare to the malnourished person. The patient should receive vigorous attention to nutritional support. Apart from this, smoking and protective effects of coffee, they also have been postulated to play a part in the development of pathogenesis of this alcoholic liver disease. Hepatitis C, the chronic infection with hepatitis C virus, it is an important comorbidity in the progression of alcoholic liver disease to the cirrhosis in chronic and excessive drinkers. So it means the individuals who are chronic drinkers and excessive drinkers and such patients if they get infected with hepatitis C virus, so such patient they have chances of progression of this alcoholic liver disease to the cirrhosis. So even moderate alcohol intake of 20 to 50 gram per day increases the risk of cirrhosis and hepatocellular cancer in HCV infected individuals. So if you remember in previous slide, we have seen that nearly 160 gram of alcohol per day was necessary, or you can say was required to develop liver cirrhosis. But if patient is infected with hepatitis C virus, so only 20 to 50 gram per day of alcohol intake it is quite sufficient to develop the cirrhosis and hepatocellular carcinoma. The patients with both alcoholic liver injury and HCV infection, they develop decompensated liver disease at a younger age and have a poor overall survival. In addition, alcohol intake of more than 50 gram per day by HCV infected patient, they decrease the efficacy of interferon-based antiviral therapy. So in previous lecture, I have told that interferon is an immunomodulator drug which is used in the treatment of HCV infection. So if patient is hepatitis C virus or patient is infected with this HCV and he is taking treatment with interferon, and if he start taking alcohol which is more than 50 gram per day, so obviously this alcohol intake it will reduce the efficacy of this interferon treatment. Now we will see the alcohol metabolism because it is necessary to understand the pathophysiology of alcoholic liver disease. So before proceeding to the pathophysiology of alcoholic liver disease, we will see alcohol metabolism. The alcohol reaches at the peak blood concentration after about 20 minutes, although this may be influenced by the stomach content. So mostly those who drink on an empty stomach, so in that individual, the alcohol it will reach at the peak blood concentration after about 20 minutes. But however, it will take longer time, that is more than 20 minutes, individuals who have taken meal and after meal they are taking alcohol intake. So this alcohol it is metabolized exclusively via one of two pathways. So that we will see one by one. So in the first pathway, approximately 80% of alcohol it is metabolized to acetaldehyde by the mitochondrial enzyme and alcohol dehydrogenase. So this alcohol dehydrogenase it is an enzyme. So because of this alcohol dehydrogenase, the alcohol it is converted or you can say the metabolized to the acetaldehyde. So this acetaldehyde it is responsible for the many patient who complain, you can say sudden heartbeat or palpitation or stomach upset. So such type of complaints, they are basically because of this acetaldehyde. And many patient or drinkers, they complain of hangover on the very next day of drinking. So such type of hangover, it is also because of this acetaldehyde. So when this alcohol it gets metabolized to the acetaldehyde, this acetaldehyde it enters into the blood and it will damage various tissues. And because of this, patient will have complaints of hangover, or you can say the stomach upset on the next day, or palpitation, so headache. So such type of complaints they are mostly because of this acetaldehyde. This acetaldehyde is then metabolized to the acetyl coenzyme A and acetate by aldehyde dehydrogenase. So later on, this harmful acetaldehyde it is then metabolized to the acetyl coenzyme and acetate. This generates NADH, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and H stands for hydrogen. So this generates NADH from NAD, which changes the redox potential of the cell. So redox potential, that means it includes two chemical reaction, that is oxidation and reduction. So this will change this redox potential of a cell. This acetaldehyde forms adducts with the cellular proteins in the hepatocytes, which will activate the immune system and contribute to the cell injury. As I have already told earlier, that acetaldehyde is an harmful product. So this acetaldehyde, it will adapt with the cellular proteins in the hepatocytes, and because of this, obviously there will be an activation of immune system. That means simply inflammation will start, and which will contribute to the cell injury. So obviously, this line, by reading this line, you can understand that patient will have alcoholic hepatitis. The remaining 20% of alcohol, it is metabolized by the microsomal ethanol oxidizing system, that is MEOS pathway. So in this pathway, cytochrome CYP2E1, which is an enzyme, it is responsible for oxidation of ethanol to the acetate. So this CYP2E1, it is usually responsible for metabolism of xenobiotics. So xenobiotics, that means any chemical substance which is not natural to our body. So obviously alcohol, it is not natural in our body. So such products, they get metabolized or oxidized by this CYP2E1 enzyme. So by this number you can understand they may be or there may be any other enzymes which belongs to this CYP. So there are nearly three types of enzymes. So CYP1, CYP2 and CYP3. So among these three enzymes, CYP2E1, it is responsible for oxidation of this ethanol to the acetate. So this pathway, it is induced obviously by alcohol intake, and during the metabolism of ethanol, it releases free oxygen, uh, oxygen-free radicals, which leads to the lipid peroxidation and mitochondrial damage. This enzyme, it also metabolizes acetaminophen. So along with, or as like alcohol or ethanol, this enzyme, it also responsible for metabolism of acetaminophen, and hence chronic alcoholics are more susceptible to hepatotoxicity from low doses of paracetamol. The pathogenesis of alcoholic liver injury, it is still unclear. The present conceptual foundation is that alcohol acts as a direct hepatotoxic effect. The ingestion of alcohol initiates an inflammatory cascade by its metabolism to acetaldehyde that we have already seen in previous slide, and which results in variety of metabolic responses. A simple model which explains the alcohol-related hepatic injury is three hit explanation. So one is lipogenic hit, inflammatory hit, and fibrogenic hit. So we will see one by one. So first one is lipogenic hit. So alcohol dehydrogenase and acetaldehyde dehydrogenase, they leads to the production of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide to the NADH. So it stands for hydrogen. So that we already seen in the metabolism that these two enzymes, alcohol dehydrogenase and acetaldehyde dehydrogenase, they lead to the production of NADH. So if there is an altered ratio of NAD and NADH, it promotes the fatty acid accumulation through the inhibition of gluconeogenesis and fatty acid oxidation. So obviously this type of heat, it is responsible for development of fatty liver in alcohol. Then second one is inflammatory heat. So obviously by the name you can understand it is usually responsible for alcoholic hepatitis. So in that CYP2E1, so in previous slide we have seen what is CYP2E1. So it is upregulated in chronic alcohol use, and it generates free radicals, so that we have already seen in previous slide, through the oxidation of NADPH to NADP. So in this NADPH, P stands for phosphate and H stands for hydrogen. The chronic alcohol exposure, it also activates hepatic macrophages, which produces tumor necrosis alpha, which in turn increases the production of ROS, that is reactive oxygen species. And then next one is fibrogenic heat. So by the word fibrogenic, you can understand there is an initiation or development of fibrosis. So this fibrosis, it is usually caused by stellate cells. So these stellate cell, they are one of the major source of collagen production, which later on leads to the fibrosis. So in normal individual, these stellate cells, they are quiescent. That means they are inactive state, and they only serve as a storehouse for vitamin A. The cytokine tumor growth factor beta, it is a major stimulus for the stellate cell activation and collagen production. So whenever this acetaldehyde, it induces injury to the liver, it will release pro-inflammatory cytokines like tumor necrosis factor, TNF alpha, and TGF beta. So such type of pro-inflammatory cytokines, they will stimulate these stellate cells, and if stellate cells they get activated, obviously it will release more collagen, or it will lead to the collagen production and later on to the fibrosis. So this type of mechanism, it is responsible for development of cirrhosis. Other cytokines such as platelet-derived growth factor, connective tissue growth factor, and oxidative stress, they also stimulate stellate cells to produce fibrosis. So for today, we will stop here. In the next lecture, we will see about clinical features, laboratory features, then its investigation and treatment.